the Turd News Network, brought to you by Mr. Miles Dehydrated Water. Remember, it's not real water unless you have to add water.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Trekker here, and before I get started, let me just say this. Thank you to all of you who have stuck with the channel through this last week where we put out basically no content at all except for the regular live streams. And even then, we were a little short-handed. Mr. Miles was getting his new computer together, and at the same time, I was getting really, really sick. And, oh man, I'm just glad last week is done. Let's forget about that now and move forward. Now that Mr. Miles has his new computer ready, and I can't wait to see that thing. I hear it's going to be really nice. But now that Mr. Miles has his new computer, he decided to send me an article to read for him so that he can put together his first video on the new machine. And he knew that he wanted to do something because he knew I had a really rough week. And so he told me that he had something special for me, something that I would really enjoy. And it comes from our friends over at wired.com. So I'm curious to see what we got here. And it is Geek's Guide to the Galaxy. Star Trek Discovery just keeps getting better and better. Fuck you, Mr. Miles. Fuck you. I hate you. I hate you. Okay. I can do this. So let's take a look here. The CBS All Access series Star Trek Discovery recently wrapped up a strong second season featuring the return of familiar characters Spock and Captain Pike. There is so much wrong with that sentence, I don't even know where to get started. First of all, no, the season did not wrap up strong at all. It had some good moments, I will fully admit, and if they touch on some of those, I'll give credit where credit is due. However, besides that, this was not the return of Spock and Pike to Discovery, because Spock and Pike were never on Discovery. This is them grasping at straws to try and get us to watch Discovery by throwing Spock and Pike into it. And I will give some credit here. In a way, it worked, because Spock and Pike, I think universally, are considered the two best characters from this second season. And which is kind of ironic, because we all know that those two characters will not be back for Discovery Season 3. Let's just continue on. Fantasy author Christopher M. Cervaso loved the new storylines. Well, I don't care what Christopher M. Cervaso thought of the new storylines. I thought that Spock, his storyline, Pike's storyline, well, Pike, unfortunately, they kind of neutered him, it seems like, because they were like going for an interesting dichotomy where Pike was going to be kind of the anti-Picard. He seemed like, oh, they're going to make him like a Christian, that he grew up in a Christian background. He understood the religion, and maybe that was going to be an interesting dichotomy with Michael Burnham's clear secularism. But no, they kind of threw that away right after they introduced it. But whatever. Discovery is definitely vying for the top spot now as one of my favorite Star Trek incarnations, Cervaso said in episode 364 of the Geek's Guide to the Galaxy podcast. Well, now I know I don't care about what Christopher Cervaso thinks about pretty much anything, because even if the entirety of season 2 was just the Spock Pike stuff, if that was it, it would still be the worst Star Trek series of all time. I'm sorry. And to even hint at the idea that this could compete with TOS, TNG, DS9, no, I'm sorry. No. All right. I think the second season has made a light year jump ahead of the first one. I'll give him that much. Science fiction author Anthony Ha had mixed feelings about season 1, but agrees that season 2 is a big improvement. I have lots of little things I went crazy about, he says, but the big difference is that after the first season of Discovery, I was not excited about more Discovery. And after season 2, I was like, yes, I cannot wait. I want to see more. Okay, then Anthony Ha is an idiot. Now, I don't know Anthony Ha. Maybe Anthony Ha is a perfectly nice and reasonable person. However, if season 2 of Discovery left you thinking, yes, this is good stuff, all right? Now, granted, I enjoyed the Spock and Pike characters, and that's almost it. So if you thought season 2 Discovery was awesome, how can that leave you excited for season 3 when you know damn well that Pike and Spock will not be back for season 3? If anything, it should be making you think, man, if CBS would just do a prequel to TOS on the Enterprise with Pike and Spock, that could be freaking awesome. That's what they should be thinking. But no, to think they're excited about the next season of Discovery when they know full well that the next season of Discovery is not going to include what made season 2 better than season 1 in the first place? Whatever. Writer Sarah Lynn Mitchner feels that Discovery improves on earlier Star Trek series in key ways, particularly in terms of making the characters more vulnerable and relatable. Wow! What? Okay, Sarah takes the cake here. They improved on Star Trek by making the characters better. I can't wait to hear her opinion on this. She also is impressed by the show's high production values and wishes fans were more enthusiastic about supporting it financially. Well, that is the telltale sign right there. There is a reason, Sarah, that the fans are not supporting it financially. And the reason is very clear. And this is something that you do not understand, apparently, based on this statement. And so I'm going to explain it to you just a little bit. And that is, special effects don't make a show great. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because yes, I will fully admit that Star Trek Discovery is the best produced Star Trek show as far as visual effects and all that. However, just throwing a spectacle on screen doesn't make it good. There is a reason that while Avatar is still, granted by just a hair, the #1 box office movie of all time, it didn't age well. You know what people aren't talking about in 2019? Avatar. Star Trek the original series looks like absolute crap by today's standards. Even the remastered version looks like absolute crap by today's standards. But you know what? People to this day love and revere that show, including this guy, because it was good. All right? Avatar was all spectacle. There was no substance. It was a rehashed story that we've seen 100 times over. It was cliche at best. It showed really sloppy writing. The original series had great authors behind it. D.C. Fontana is one of the best writers in television history, and she wrote some of the most memorable moments in all of Trek. Anyway, I get mad when people are mad about paying money for the app or paying money to watch Star Trek, she says. And I'm like, really? You really want your Star Trek to stop in the middle of a battle so that you can watch baby food commercial? Seriously? That's what you're asking for right now? Okay, once again, I'm sorry, Sarah, you are an idiot, because even if you buy CBS All Access, you have to pay extra to get rid of the commercials. So you're saying that people should not only spring the money for CBS All Access, which is already hiding it behind a paywall, but then to double down and pay extra so they can watch it without seeing the baby food commercials. So you're insulting the very marketing that CBS is endorsing. But let me tell you something else. Yes, it should be free. Star Trek works best as a free and open platform for families to enjoy. The only reason they moved it behind the CBS paywall is to try and do two things: a cash grab and to throw R-rated stuff on there. Both of those are inappropriate to Star Trek. Geek's Guide to the Galaxy host David Barr Kirtley agrees that CBS is on the right track with Discovery, which bodes well for the other two upcoming Star Trek series, one about Section 31 and the other about Captain Picard. No, it has nothing to do with the other two series. I am not judging the other two series based on Discovery, because if I was to do that, then I would simply refuse to watch them. I think the future of Star Trek franchise is looking pretty good right now, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what comes next, he says, proving that he is an idiot. Listening to the complete interview with Christopher M. Cervaso, Sarah Lynn Mitchner, and Anthony Ha in episode 364 of Geek's Guide to the Galaxy above, and check out some highlights from the discussion below. I will not be watching it just based on what you've just said. Why would I want to watch you guys talk about how awesome the show is when you clearly don't know what makes an awesome show? Why? How is, oh man, I tell you, I don't know if any of you guys listen to Geek's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm not a big podcast guy, so I've never listened to their podcast. So I don't know if any of you guys care about Geek's Guide to the Galaxy. If it's any good, let me know, because based on this, I'm thinking Geek's Guide to the Galaxy is probably one of the worst podcasts ever produced. So here we go. Christopher M. Cervaso on Spock. There are 2 or 3 characters that I think, because of the way they interact with Burnham, that are fascinating to me. Okay, so that right there is a red flag, okay? A character should not be defined as how they all interact with one specific character, right? The fact that Michael Burnham is the center of the universe for Star Trek now is a fundamental flaw in the premise of the show. But let's continue on. And it was basically the 3 members of her family, Spock, Sarek, and Amanda. That's funny because, I'm sorry, Sarek and Amanda combined screen time for the entire season was what, maybe 15 minutes total? There wasn't a lot of interaction there, but whatever. It was basically, I mean, you had Sarek apologize for being a bad dad, something that then, 10 years later, he would be so hardcore that he would refuse to talk to Spock.
And Spock is his son.
Well, you don't understand the Vulcan way, Captain. It's logical. It's a better way than ours, but it's not easy. It has kept Spock and Sarek from speaking as father and son for 18 years.
All right, whatever. I was just completely riveted whenever any of those 3 were on screen, particularly because they each had unique and complicated relationships with Burnham. I'll give you unique. Complicated? Not really. Young Spock still coming into terms with reconciling the 2 sides of his nature and becoming the person we all knew from the original series. And I like how we're kind of left with the idea that a lot of what we consider to be Spock's iconic personality grew out of his relationship with his sister. Well, actually, I find that rather insulting. The fact that they were trying to set it up that Michael Burnham is what makes Spock awesome is the worst part of that entire arc. I actually really like, I will tell you, and I've said this several times throughout season 2 when I was reviewing the individual episodes live on my live streams. I actually really liked Spock and Burnham's interactions because Spock, unlike every other character in Discovery, was not intimidated by Burnham, and he did not back down just because Burnham, said that she was awesome. And I like that. They fought like brother and sister, like genuine brother and sister. I liked their dynamic. That was the first time I actually enjoyed Michael Burnham, was whenever she and Spock were arguing about something. Now, Sarek and Amanda? Nah, pure milquetoast, just recycled from season 1. There was really nothing there except that they wanted to throw the big thing where Sarek, who will spend the next 100 years before he ever reconciles with Spock, and he never fully reconciles except for through a second-hand mind meld with Picard.
You may know Sarek better than his own son does. My father and I never chose to meld.
I offer you the chance to touch what he shared with me.
He will never reconcile with Spock, but he had to apologize to Burnham because of his evil, toxic masculinity. Sarah Lynn Mitchner on Captain Pike. I was very pleased to see Spock and Pike, though I was a little disturbed at the petition to launch a Pike series. Yeah, it must be horrible. The idea of a series led by a white male must be so offensive to your poor sensitive eyes. Oh my God, that must be horrible. There was a fan petition that came out asking that we get a Pike and Spock show because of the popularity of these characters, and I totally understand that. I agree with how charming they were. I just think that one of the strong suits of Discovery in general is that the casting is amazing. But there is something a little disturbing about what came along with that petition. A lot of people were saying they wanted Pike instead of Discovery, and that was troublesome to me because I feel like there's a very large contingent of Star Trek fans that want nostalgia more than they want Star Trek. No, they want Star Trek. That's the problem. You see, Sarah, I know I had to explain to you earlier. I will have to explain to you again. You see, I understand where you think nostalgia just means anything that is in any way, shape, or form similar to things that have been in the past. Okay, nostalgia can fall into that category. However, if you are going to be true to your source material, if you consider the fact that A, Star Trek Discovery fits in between two other Star Trek series, Enterprise and TOS. Therefore, it should be consistent in a timeline flowing from Enterprise to TOS, but it's not. Instead, it feels like the technology and everything in Discovery is superior to that we see in the Next Generation, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It's also that if you look at the characterization of the Federation, of Starfleet, of every single aspect of those two things, it's way out of whack with Discovery. Consider this for just a moment. In Enterprise, the Federation didn't even exist yet, and Starfleet was a relatively small and insignificant player in the galaxy. And so Archer was out there pretty much on his own, but every now and then he would talk to Starfleet Command. And Starfleet Command and Archer would work things out, and they'd try to figure out what to do, and they'd come up with their solutions, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward to Kirk, same kind of thing. Now, granted, there's more of a Starfleet, that there's at least 12 Constitution-class starships, and Starfleet is a presence in the galaxy now. But the Starfleet Command was always the Admiralty, right? The brass that would give the orders. Well, in Discovery, they decide, nope, you know what? A robot runs the whole thing. Why not? That's what we're going to do. It's Skynet. Starfleet is the living embodiment of the Terminator franchise. Why would you do that? We're not asking for nostalgia. We're asking for some moniker of consistency. There is nothing about Discovery that feels like Star Trek except for the fact that they throw in some Star Trek sounding lingo. Like when they say transporters or they say phasers or something like that. That's it. But Pike and Spock in season 2 felt like they could come from that universe that we love so much. Yes, Spock, I know, Spock is an iconic character and everything, and bringing him in is nostalgic. But the nostalgia was on the part of CBS desperately trying to get people to watch Discovery. The problem is that since they made their characters just a little too good, then people got a taste of what Star Trek could actually be. They don't want Discovery. Why should I have a plate full of dog crap when you just showed me a beautiful sirloin steak? I'll take the sirloin steak, please. You can keep the dog crap. She's upset because they gave us a plate that had dog crap and sirloin steak on it, and we kind of, nibbled on the sirloin steak away from the dog crap part, but where they touched, we didn't want to touch that stuff. And then afterwards, we're like, gee, if we could just get a plate with just sirloin steak, that would be awesome, and you don't have to give me any more of the dog crap. And she's upset about that. Anthony Haw on aspirational characters versus relatable characters. I prefer aspirational characters, and certainly I think that's one of the reasons why, as much as I enjoy watching the Abrams films, they haven't really stuck with me the way that a lot of other Star Trek has. But I think Discovery actually finds a really good balance, and I think one of the signature moves this season was to get characters who are conflicted, and you actually see why they're conflicted. But in the end, they make the noble or correct choice, and I feel like it's a very smart way to split the balance of not making them purely heroic and completely unrelatable, but at the same time not feeling like you have to have everybody just acting on their emotions all the time and shouting, basically acting like characters in the Abrams films. Well, again, here's the thing. conflicted is okay. You know, you can have internally conflicted characters, but you know what? That doesn't mean you don't make them good. That's the problem. That's what you're missing here, right? You're making it sound like the fact that Captain Kirk is good to the core, that makes him an unrelatable character. I'm sorry, Kirk was a very relatable character. Kirk had his incredible moments of doubt. Watch Balance of Terror, my favorite Star Trek episode of all. One of the best scenes in that episode was Kirk sitting in his quarters talking to Dr. McCoy about how he should not be in command, that he, or not that he shouldn't be in command, but that he was doubting whether he should be in command, that if he makes the wrong choice, all these people could die. And McCoy gives him one of the best lines in all of Trek as a way to console his old friend. It was beautiful.
What if I'm wrong? Of 3 million Earth-type planets, and in all of the universe, 3 million galaxies like this. And in all of that, and perhaps more, only one of each of us. Don't destroy the one named Kirk.
That's not unrelatable. That's a guy in a high-pressure situation trying to deal with it with one of his closest friends. And that was a great moment in that story. And there are plenty of moments like that in the original series and Next Gen all through Trek. So no, just because the characters in the other shows are good doesn't make them unrelatable, unless you are just not a good person. Maybe you just want them to be a little more like you if you don't want to be a good person, and so you want that dark streak in everybody. Sarah Lynn Michener and Captain Picard. There are people who are already complaining about the new Picard series because of course they are. Okay, whatever. And it's like, seriously, it's a miracle, an absolute miracle that they got Patrick Stewart to do this. And I guarantee Patrick Stewart's taste is well beyond any of us put together. Actually, that would be well better than all of us put together. Any of us put together is not a correct statement. It would be any of us individually. It would be all of us put together. Just so you know, Sarah Lynn, how to construct a proper thought. I just trying to help you out. Where was I? Patrick, and he had to like it in order to say yes. He said, I'm only going to do this if you're going to do something interesting with the character. And the character's someplace that we haven't been before. He has no interest in redoing TNG episodes, and it's going to be a contingent of the fan base that is angry that they are not getting that, even though he's flat out said that's not what we're going to do. Look, you are once again an idiot. The reason that a lot of people have been very, very, shall we just say, cautious about trying to support the Picard series, it has nothing to do with Patrick Stewart's taste, all right? That's irrelevant, okay? I'm sorry, you think that it's all because Patrick Stewart has such great taste. You hand enough money to any actor in Hollywood and they will do it. End of story, right? How many times does an actor say, oh, I'm not doing that again? Oh, look, he's back, right? Because you hand them enough money, they will do it, period. If Marvel Studios really wanted Hugh Jackman to be Wolverine, they could pay him enough to do it. If they really wanted Robert Downey Jr. to come back as Iron Man, they could pay him enough to do it. It's not that hard. When you offer somebody that kind of money, it just happens. The concern that we have has nothing to do with Patrick Stewart's taste. It has to do with the fact that the same people that are producing this show produced Star Trek Discovery, which was a complete and utter dumpster fire. And we don't want Star Trek to continue to be crap. That's it. Honestly, that is it. Now, I'm not hating on Picard because I haven't seen it. I'm not loving on it because I haven't seen it. My only real commentary is that it seems to me that Patrick Stewart's a little too old to be playing Picard. However, I will watch the show with an open mind. If it's good, I will say it's good. If it sucks, I will say it sucked. but I'm going to give an honest opinion on it. Now, I understand the subtext of this article is basically those evil, toxic fans, right? That's the ultimate problem. Those toxic fans, they just don't understand how awesome CBS is. Well, the only thing I can say to that is f*** you. Take care.
I offer you the chance to touch me.